both of you. Ime, obviously a rough way to come into camp with Fred's injury. Do you have any sense of how he's doing after the surgery? And then which players or player do you anticipate will need to fill the playmaking role?
Yeah, he's doing well. They bring him in the day after to get to working on him already. I've had 2 ACLs myself, so I know how they start bending on you from day one. And so he's a little woozy and drugged up a little bit, but getting right after it. And so not really worried about his approach to it. He'll attack the rehab process and already has started that. So he's in good spirits. But to answer your second question, I think it'll be a committee, all the above. I think we have a lot of versatility in different ways we can go, and some of that will play out in training camp, but obviously we've started to look at different options of guys that will get expanded roles. You look at Amen, you look at Reed, those guys are going to play a lot more and initiate a lot more and handle the ball a lot more anyway, and so that'll get expedited a little bit, and you can go with a lot of different directions. Katie's a great scorer initiator that can do some things. Alfie obviously for a center as well, so we have a lot of options we can go to.
Brian? This question is for both of you all. When you all look at the way that you all finished last year, number 2 in the West, and went to the playoffs, what was it about that team that you all looked at that said that we're not good enough, or maybe we're not good enough right now to want to move some of the pieces that you did in the offseason and bring in some of the additions that you did?
I don't think we looked at it as we weren't good enough. I thought that team was good. I just think that the moves that were available to us in the off season, we thought gave us a better opportunity to win kind of both now and in the future. So I definitely don't think of it as we walked out of last season feeling negative towards that group in any which way, or thinking we were going to make changes. It's more that this job and this business is one where you're always looking to incrementally improve, and so when those opportunities presented themselves, we thought it was best for the organization.
Yeah, I echo that. I think we don't react to anything as far as the playoffs. We knew if we brought that same unit back, we'd take a step and grow, continue to grow, and things didn't present the way they did. We'd have been fine going back into it with the same group, and so things shake out. We weren't shopping anybody or anything like that. It was what became available and who wanted to come and things of that nature, and so it was an opportunity for us, and we took a look at it then. But I think our group overachieved in a lot of people's eyes, but we took a good step between year 1 and year 2, and we thought we'd do the same thing year 3 if we brought that unit back. And so that's just to echo Rafael's statement. I think that's the way we approached it.
Jackson?
For Ime, you already right here in the front. Sorry, you already alluded to bigger roles for Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd, obviously with the Fred injury. What are your kind of expectations for each one of them when they're out there running point, and how do you expect the offense to maybe look different at times when Amen is running a show versus when Reed is running things?
The expectation, I think, is the same thing I've said since I got here, is that we're going to only go as far as our young guys go and have the pace that they grow at, and I think they've all taken steps in the last 2 years, and we've seen it this offseason. Expect them to do it, carry that over into the season. So they do it a little bit differently. It's hard to emulate the experience and some of the IQ and some of the things that Fred has, just from a standpoint of the things he's gone through and being on championship level. But Reed is one of our more cerebral players that not only can shoot but read the court very well and make the right plays. And so Amen's very different when he plays the game. He's a fast break at his own pace. He pushes it extremely hard, and we're asking everybody else to keep up. So it'll look a little bit different when those two are handling. But overall, I think we're not just leaning on those two. Like I said, we have a lot of options we can go to of guys that can initiate offense and get us into sets, and it won't be the traditional way at times. It'll look a lot different, but I think that's where our versatility and depth comes into play.
Ben?
Ime, it was reported this offseason that you got a contract extension. What does that commitment mean to you? And I guess for both of you, why are you two so confident in the working relationship, the partnership working out for the long haul?
I'd say it means we've done some things good so far. I think we kind of look at the growth of our group and where we think we can get to, and want to all kind of be invested and be on the same page as far as that. Me and Rafael from day one have been on the same page as far as our goals and expectations for our team, and so to be extended and be together for the next, whatever, 6 years or whatever. We take it year by year, but it's an honor for, for me and they entrusted me to obviously be in this role, and we've done some good things, and so credit goes to the players. They continue to allow us to coach them and push them, but our expectations are to get to a certain point, and I think the first 2 years have kind of showed where we want to get to, and I was rewarded for that.
Christy?
Ime, I wondered I'm sure there's a lot, but what excites you most about having Kevin Durant on your team now?
Obviously, I've been around him quite a bit and played against and coached against him for a long time, and so the things that he does, achievements, accolades, those are things that go without saying, and so I think more so than anything, it's just a continued elevation of our group and expectations. I think what he does as far as professionalism, night in, night out, his work ethic, and some of the things I've seen when I've coached him and been around him in different settings, it really will rub off on our team, and it has already. And so, like I said, bringing in the right vets and the right players to complement our young guys has always been a key. Fred, Dylan, Jeff, Aaron, those guys did that and kind of showed our guys how to be pros, and I think Kevin takes it to another level as far as what he does on the court. But not only that, you see why it's not you understand why he is who he is and how he got to that level by what he does every day. And so I think just our young guys working with him and being around him, that's really going to pay dividends for our team.
Brian?
Good morning. Rafael, could I ask where the organization is with Kevin's contract situation?
You can ask, I'm not gonna answer. I don't talk about where we are with any of our players' contracts.
Okay, could I also ask the health status of Dorian coming off the off-season surgery?
Durant's doing great, so he's progressing well and kind of on pace, and yeah, I mean you'll get a chance to talk to him in a second, but we feel really good about where he's at.
Lashard?
This is for Ime. Was the thought process bringing in Clint Capella is that you want to lean even more into the double big lineup compared to last season?
Yeah, I think we saw some things that worked well. Once Steven became available to play more than 5 minutes to insert, play more as the season went on, he got his legs and his rhythm back. We'll still be cautious with him and some other guys with back-to-backs, and so we'd like to have a third guy in there that can play on those nights, but also, like you said, lean in on what went well for us. And so, Albie's versatility allows him to play with whoever, whether it's a downsized unit or upsize, and he can play the four with both those guys. And so, when the opportunity presented itself, it was a thing we obviously jumped on, but he gives us another different dimension at the center, a lot of threat, rim protection, some of the things that our other guys don't do as well. But I think those three complement each other very well.
Kim?
Ime, kind of following up on Christy's question about KD, can you talk a little more specifically about how you see him fitting in with the team on the court and what those things are that you really like about him, what he can bring?
Yeah, I mean, the consistent scoring, at times we had our lows last year and the previous year, and I think, he's a consistent, very efficient scorer. You've seen the numbers, I think the 50, 40, 90 for the last few years, and the points that he averages, he kind of does that in his sleep. But another area we struggled at times was to close games, and he's one of the ultimate closers in the game. And so just those two aspects alone will obviously improve our consistency across the board and avoid some of the things the struggles we had offensively at times, and not have to just lean on defense and looking at different things to make it work. When you have a guy like him, you can put it in his hands at times and he can deliver like he has throughout his whole career, and we just keep our identity across the board, and I think he fits in well with what we're doing in the growth of our young guys. And so very good compliment obviously for all those reasons, but some of the areas we struggled, he addresses those.
Kelly?
Coach, I think every year you've added things to the offense in terms of like the overall structure and sets of things like that. Now going forward, do you expect to continue with that, or do you want to simplify things with the development of Reed and then like just that balance?
No, I think you add as they continue to grow. At times like I said, the first year we really leaned on Fred and went through him a lot, but as Alfie continues to grow, continues to grow, we add pieces to the puzzle. I think you can add more to your playbook, and I think the versatility is going to be a big thing for us. We go a lot of different directions, like I said, and we're not just relying on one guy. Even if Fred didn't get hurt, we understood the other guys have grown, and you want to put it in Alfie's hands a lot more and not have to rely on him as much. And so, you want to continue to add, and I think those guys going into their second, third, and fourth year, you can do that.
Michael?
Ime, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on the summer at large and early in the summer. What was your feeling at the end of the season? Were you frustrated this team didn't make it further? Were you satisfied with their progress? How did you kind of approach the summer given last year's results?
I approach it that everybody needs to improve and get better. As far as the coaching staff, as far as our players, that was the message after Game 7. No, we were definitely disappointed that we didn't make it out of the first round. I think you saw, games 1, 2, and 3. There were some struggles, ups and downs, and things we didn't attack properly, and then we got better in 4, 5, and 6, and then, in Game 7, we don't play as well, and Buddy Hield hits a lot of shots. Anything can happen in Game 7, but it took us a little bit too long to really get going in the series or take them out of the things. But once we did, we looked really good. And so the message was be more consistent. Understand this experience will help you going forward, but we all need to improve. And so frustration for sure. We felt that we should have been playing into the second round or further.
Terrence?
Rafael, this is for you. Can you walk us through your evaluation process when you were determining, looking at Kevin Durant's veteran presence versus the growth still of Jalen Green, and how you came down to making a decision to go with more of the veteran presence as opposed to the guy who's still young and growing?
Yeah, I mean, we love Jalen, and he's definitely still young and growing, and my expectation is he'll continue to. So that was just kind of a given. I think though that when we looked at it, there's just not many people in the history of the NBA who have the capacity to do what Kevin's done consistently throughout his career. And so I just, we just felt like that was just, it became an opportunity we couldn't pass up. So it really had nothing to do with the guys who moved out. It was much more about Kevin and desiring to bring him in, and he's kind of a singular talent. And so, so we're very excited to have him.
Ime, you touched on this earlier, but I wonder what gives you the confidence that Reed Shepherd is ready for an increased role. We didn't see him play a lot. You saw him in practice, obviously, but what gives you the confidence that he's ready?
The work he's put in, you've seen the confidence grow, throughout the season. He had his moments. You've seen the big games when he did get opportunity when a lot of guys sat. So the talent is there. It was just a little bit of confidence and second guessing at times, and the physicality of the game on both ends, affected him at times. And so a lot of times you take that leap between year 1 and year 2, the work he's put in and what he's shown in the offseason already. He's taken a nice jump. And so, like I said, regardless of the Fred situation, he was going to get more opportunity this year, and the skill set and the things that he brings are going to be needed. They complement our guys very well, and so with opportunity, more often than not, guys will step up to the plate, and I think he's shown that. He's very competitive in the shot selections and the passing ability and all those things, and like I said, he's really worked hard on his defense and his body and physicality to take on that challenge.
Chancellor?
All right, this is a question for both of you on the journey here. Ime, when you were hired, from ownership to yourself, the expectation was you to take a young team into a contender. As a competitor, now that you guys believe you have the roster and the experience to get there, just what excites you about the challenge at hand? And for you, Rafael, just being here from the start of crafting this team from the rebuild to where you are now, what kind of stands out about the journey for what you guys had to do to get here?
Well, for me, I think it's always exciting to play meaningful basketball. I'd much rather have expectations than, try to see where you're trying to be at. And I think we addressed those from year 1, being a competitive team that, fought every night. And like I said, we took that big leap, and then we did the same thing last year. So for me, playing meaningful basketball, playing as one of the hunted teams with a target on your back is much more appealing to me and what I'm more used to. And I think a lot of our guys want that as well, and they've tasted some success across the board, I think, in the last few years, and are hungry for more. So you have the vets that have been there, done that, but our young guys want to grow and be great as well. And so that excites all of us.
We'll take 2 more. Chris?
Rafael, is having depth, is that still a little underrated in the NBA, and how much was that a driver in your roster construction and having that flexibility?
Yeah, I don't know if it's underrated or overrated, but no, Yes, I'll answer, I do think it's underrated. And I think I think it was important for us that we be a very deep team and that kind of, 1 through 14, everybody that we brought in could really add something and add some versatility and everything else. Having said that, like, no one in the NBA can really replace your best players, and so the best you can hope to do is play a different style. People are too good, and the best guys do things that other people can't do. So I think we're cognizant of that as well, and what we wanted to allow ourselves to do was if somebody did take an injury, whether it's for a week or a month or a season, to have a different direction we could go in and hopefully maybe not be quite just as good, but be very close and competitive.
Danielle.
Fred was one of your primary floor spacers with his three-point shooting ability, and losing him, Jalen, and Dylan. Obviously, some of the guys you brought in were to replace Jalen and Dylan's ability, but now are you thinking about lineup constructions any differently, just from floor spacing standpoint to kind of compensate for Fred's absence?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Reed addresses some of the same things that Fred does. The toughness, IQ, experience, those things. Fred brings to the table. You can't really emulate that, like I said. But as far as playing off the ball and being able to shoot and stretch the floor and create space for guys, he does that. But you look at across the board, you had KD, obviously a 40% plus three-point shooter. Dorian's the same thing, and then Jabari shoots at a high clip as well. So do it a different way, and like I said, we can go a multitude of ways. And sometimes it's going to be doubling down on bully ball, and you have men out there with two bigs, and Jabari and KD on the court, probably one of the biggest teams in the history of the league. But we'll figure out how to do it a different way. And so, like I said, the versatility we can go is a ton of ways, and we'll kind of experiment with that throughout the preseason.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you.
Thank you.